JJ, it's episode 44 of We Were Gamers, and we're recording on a Monday night.
It's been a while since we recorded on a Monday night, I feel like.
I feel like this is supposed to be our regular night.
Yeah, it is, huh? Man.
It feels irregular.
What does that say about us?
It says that we're adults with busy schedules, man, and a lot of times we can fit in things where we never thought possible.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, what do we have to talk about?
Well, there's this new Zelda game that just came out. Have you played it?
No.
There's a new Nintendo console, brand new Nintendo console, groundbreaking system. People are loving the game and the system. So you got one, right?
No.
Cool. So we saw a lot about the new Hearthstone set too. We could talk about that too, right?
A teeny bit.
Man, we're the worst. It's a good thing this isn't a journalism podcast.
Yeah, man. Whew, good thing. The ball would be over there and we would be about a mile the other direction.
We're playing soccer with cricket bats or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Showing up to the soccer pitch with our football helmets.
Oh, man. No, yeah, what we've always talked about on this show is that this is a podcast for real gamers, about adult gamers, and a lot of times we don't have time or energy or money for new consoles the minute they come out, especially because if you wait till Christmas time, you're going to get a deal.
And Black Friday is a real thing, and people should use it to buy things for cheaper.
Yeah,
that's what I feel.
You don't need a Switch right now. You wait till Black Friday. You're going to get paid.
That's right. You'll get it for $20 off or whatever, but that's cheaper than now. And there will maybe be more games out for it and stuff.
Well,
so
you also probably get a game with it,
which you don't now.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another $50 you save if you like the game that comes with it.
Yeah. So.
Okay, all joking aside, we do have a lot to talk about today, I think.
Yeah, there definitely is. There is stuff that is under people's radar, I think. We haven't been sitting on our butts. I mean, we have, but
well, you stand while you play because you have a standing desk.
I stand sometimes, yeah. I do sit sometimes, though.
I sit, JJ, and I now sit much more comfortably.
Ooh, is this the home renovation minute?
Pulled the trigger, and I bought a new chair for the office.
Oh, nice. Now, did you purchase a fancy office chair?
I did.
Nice.
I went from my 2004 IKEA swivel chair, which had become basically a plank of wood with fabric over it.
Right.
To, I would call it the Staples knockoff version of one of those $1,000 chairs.
Okay.
It's quite comfortable.
Does it have the mesh back?
Yes, it's fully mesh, bottom and back.
Nice. That's the way, man.
So you can see through it.
And it doesn't get hot?
No, it will not get hot. It's got fully 3 direction adjustable arms. It's got lumbar support back thing. It's got more controls I've ever seen on a chair ever, on multiple chairs put together.
I have one of those chairs at work, literally one of the $1,000 ones.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like they could have given me one that cost $500 and I would have been equally happy. So you did the right move.
We did a comparison. I bet you own the same chair Katie does because it's also one of those $1,000 chairs, which I'm sure they didn't pay $1,000 for. But
of course,
we did a comparison and put the two pictures side by side. It's oh, I see where the design for this came from. Touche, Staples.
The name of the chair at work is the Herman Miller Aeron.
Oh, okay. She has the Herman Miller Mira.
Yeah,
I think the same.
I think actually the chair I own at home is a copy of the Mira. That's the one that I bought to sit in at my house.
Nice. So I bought the Staples copy of the Mira, and it was also 50% off this weekend. So
heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Walked out of there feeling pretty good.
And now, when you sit down, you will feel good.
Oh, man. I can't even tell you the difference just in my spine. This chair making me sit straight up.
Yep.
It's quite nice. It's actually a lot more comfortable podcasting right now. It's holding me to the microphone.
Yep. I really cannot emphasize for those of you out there who sit for long portions of your day how important it is to have a good chair and a good desk that are properly heighted and sized for you, it really, really adds a lot. And like, I sit all day for work as well, because I work at a computer, right? And so it is very important to have all the ergonomic stuff laid out correctly, or man, it can hurt so bad at the end of a day.
Oh yeah, and having your monitors the right height.
Yep, adjusting the monitor heights, your keyboards, your if you want to put them on a tray, the height of your desk if it's a standing thing, the height of your chairs and the arms and all that stuff. Being able to adjust all that is a life send, man. You need to have that stuff.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, that was probably the highlight of the weekend. I did do some house projects, and we emptied some boxes that have been sitting in piles since our move a long time ago. A lot of progress starting to get made. But that was about it. Yeah, not a ton of gaming.
I want to actually shout you out here for a quick minute. Speaking of house projects, I have been slowly planning and working on building a planter box here at my house for to grow some vegetables and whatever in the backyard. And Andrew, apropos of essentially nothing, called me from Home Depot. Is like, hey, there's this stone block that basically does exactly what you want it to do and eliminates the need for you to have to make joints out of wood. And I went to Home Depot and I checked those things out, and they're amazing.
Did you get some?
Yeah, I bought 4 so I could start the layout and like leveling the land and stuff and getting it all prepared.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's amazing. Wow, they're like really, really cool. They're just like these, if you take a cinder block but you cut 4 slots into the 4 sides of it so that you could fit wooden boards in there, 2x6s specifically. And then, yeah, you plop it down and you slide the board in between the 2. You're done. It's like stick a thing of rebar down through the center. There's literally almost no work. Not almost none, but very little compared to what it would be otherwise.
It looked nice. I mean, compared to a normal planter box.
It looks really nice.
Yeah. It looked pretty cool. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I didn't get as much out of my Home Depot trip as you did. I just bought a bunch of lawn seed and fertilizer.
Yeah, we got that, and we got 4 bags of mulch for $10. That was our exciting Home Depot trip.
It's surprising. It does add up in the long run, but each project that you do for your home, at the end of the day, when you look at what you got for it, if you do it yourself, it's not that expensive.
No, it really isn't. The most expensive part of this planter box will be the wood, like far and away, right?
Well, if you don't start from seed, it's going to be the plants.
Oh, we are starting from seed.
Wow,
that's the plan anyway. We'll see. I don't know.
It's ambitious. I like it.
You know what? The plants are her problem. She'll listen to this and maybe have words for me with that. But anyway, I'm building the box. She is doing the plants. That's what I believe the agreement is.
In the long run, you're getting the better end of that deal if it holds up.
Yes, we'll see.
It won't hold up.
No, unlikely.
All right, Homeowners Minute over?
Yes.
All right, we got a little bit of news, and I want to get solemn for a minute because we recorded a little bit early the last couple episodes, and we were not able to shout out the passing of Bill Paxton.
Yeah, man. R.I.P., dude. One of the greats.
All right. There's been a lot of celebrity death over the last years, and there was a study that said, hey, in the 60s, celebrity culture kind of exploded, so there's going to be a lot more celebrity death coming up.
Yeah, just going forward in general, right?
Yeah. But, man, this one was like a real body blow in terms of remembering movies. Like, oh, he was in that. Oh, he was in that. Did you know he was the only actor to ever be killed on screen by a Terminator, a Predator, and an Alien?
Whoa. What? Wait. What Predator movie was he in?
Pred 2, I think, with Danny Glover.
Oh, whoa. Okay. I don't remember him in Predator 2, but I will take your word for that.
I'm pretty sure he was in a Predator movie, and I think it was Predator 2.
It definitely wasn't Predator 1. I can tell you that.
Well, no.
I don't think it was any of those AVP ones. So
it definitely was not an AVP movie.
All right. So it's got to be Predator 2 then. Man, yeah. Bill Paxton, man. So good.
I mean, that's
game over.
I guess that's kind of where you end that one.
Yeah. I just mean, yeah, it sucks. It Sucks.
All right, let's move on to some gaming news so we can cheer ourselves up a little bit. But JJ, Hearthstone has a new expansion coming, and there's not a lot of info about it. I mean, maybe you've gleaned a little bit more than I have. I can tell they're adding some keywords.
Yeah.
That's
I can tell you that there have been a lot of remixes to that rap song that Ben Brode posted. That's what I can tell you about.
The important news.
Yeah, we'll tweet out one of the links, maybe to the original, but then everyone should watch it at 1.5 speed. Oh, actually, we already did tweet it. I'm sorry. So yeah, just watch that at 1.5 speed to hear Ben Brode have some like real good lyrical flow, and don't watch it at normal speed where it sounds a little slow. But in terms of the actual card game stuff, they did announce a new keyword, adapt, which seems like it's going to function like a spare part kind of system-ish.
It's like discover a spare part.
Yeah, there's going to be 10 different adaptations, and they do stuff like give you +3 attack, or +3 health, or divine shield, or can't be targeted by spells, or wind fury, and some other stuff. And they seem like, okay, I don't know. It's really hard. We've only seen one card with the adapt keyword on it, and it was not necessarily a great card. So it's really hard to tell how that keyword is going to play out.
Other than that, there hasn't been much to glean yet, but are you going to be doing the pre-order thing again that they finally brought back? Because I don't know why they brought it back after they said they wouldn't be doing it anymore.
Well, yes, because you can pre-order it for less than face value at Amazon, right?
Right, sure.
So yeah, I'll be happy to do that when I can do it through Amazon, and not happy to do it otherwise.
Okay.
They did also mention stuff about quests, like quest cards, like a new card type.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is interesting, but the one quest they showed seems far-fetched at best.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, 7 Death Rattle minions is a relatively high number, and it sounds like the stuff you play off like N'Zoth or those kinds of guys that summon them rather than play them would also count. But the problem is that how are you going to survive that long only playing those kind of guys?
It just kind of seems that they're trying to find an excuse to stop making decent 1-mana minion cards and find another way for you to use your first turn.
And I think that's okay. Like, I actually like the idea of the quest card is actually really cool, and I think it's a fun thing. And like, man, for people who didn't like Reno Jackson, whoo boy, you better check out that priest quest. You guys should, all you people should have some real complaining to do about that thing. 5 mana, whatever, set your health to 40. You didn't like 30 health when you got that. How do you like 40? Yeah, so we'll see. It seems significantly more difficult to get this than Reno anyway.
I wonder how that's going to work in Wild if you could do a Death Rattle Reno deck.
I almost certain you can.
And then you'll end up with a 40 health Reno drop and people will just rage.
Yeah. Oh, man. The tears. Anyhow, it's cool. I am still playing Hearthstone, daily or close to daily.
I'm reticent to say whether the expansion will change my opinion of the game, but I think some people have kind of already made up their minds. Have you heard multiple pro players are now just kind of done with it, including Life Coach and a couple others?
Yeah, I saw that they made those comments, and I can't really begrudge them, right? Like, do you ever hear about pro players playing card games into their 30s and beyond?
There are many, many that still play Magic.
Yeah, but I don't think the number of them that are, advanced in age is that high. And a lot of them have day jobs.
Well, I don't think they're quitting card games. I think they're just quitting Hearthstone.
Yeah, and I think it's fine. Let them go if they don't want to play. That's fine.
Yeah,
but I am not a pro player. You are not a pro player.
Sure.
I barely watch any of the pro games. Like, it doesn't really affect me that much.
It doesn't speak to you that there might be something else going on that people are worried about?
I mean, if they are worried about the high level of randomness in the game, they're right to worry about it. It's there. Like, I know when you lose games because you lost a coin flip, like, that happens to everyone. Everyone who has played Hearthstone listening to this podcast knows what I'm talking about. It's happened to you once. You're like, oh, I just need one of these 2 cards to win. I didn't get it.
Fair point.
And your opponent did.
Yeah.
The game is built to be a certain level of random, and if that's not fun or necessarily great for competitive play, that doesn't make the game not fun to play for me.
I'll never really complain about it because I don't have to roll a d20 every time I make an attack.
There you go, man. See, it's all in the perspective.
Well, that's kind of all I have on Hearthstone, so.
And that's really kind of all there is. They haven't really shown anything more.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had any deeper thoughts. I mean, it was kind of interesting to me that people are quitting right before a patch, but whatever. I mean, that's kind of how I feel as well.
I'm happy with the couple changes they made to the cards, and I am excited for them to add a new card type. We'll see how it is.
Right on. In the busyness of this weekend, I really didn't do much, and the time that I did have, the little bits of time throughout the day, found myself picking up a book after opening my phone and staring at Fire Emblem and then not clicking on it. Any thoughts there?
I have continued to play Fire Emblem off and on. It's like log in, do my couple quests, use my stamina here and there when I feel like it, not necessarily to keep up with it all the time.
I definitely have missed some days now where I haven't used any of my arena. I used to use like 100 stamina a day. I'm kind of down to maybe 20.
Yeah, I still have some lunatic levels to clear. Some of the higher ones are getting pretty tough.
Oh man, the last one I think is impossible.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that you need specific kinds of compositions to beat some of those the last few lunatic levels, and I don't got that. So
I don't think I'm going to be able to beat the last one at all.
Yeah, I don't know what's in it. I haven't bothered to check it out, so I will just go ahead and assume that it's probably full of a bunch of stuff that isn't very fair, because there's some things that are not fair in that game.
They don't seem to be dragging people like we were thinking that they're going to they're going to do quests and all these sorts of things to maintain interest, and we've been over a week now since the new month started and not really much is happening.
Yeah, it sounds like people are thinking the next content drop is going to be a like team battle where you pick a side and then you fight for that side kind of thing, but I don't know that I'm going to like play that more than I'm going to play any of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I enjoy the combat in that game, and I enjoy playing it as something fun to do when I have boredom time on a phone.
Sure. Have you seen this? I didn't know this existed until it happened to me. Now that everyone in the arena is kind of level 40, there's 2 different things I wanted to talk to you about here.
I am not level 40 on all my characters. Just want to point that out.
So I have a team of 40s.
Okay.
And in the arena, I went in and checked. The other team across from me had 2 Takumis and 2 healers, and they all had different health numbers on them. It's very confusing. I clicked on all of them, including mine. All 3 of them were level 40.
Yep.
I did not know that there is a stat variation in this game.
So, yes, I did know this, but I didn't feel like there was already so much to talk about in terms of the mechanics of this game that I didn't want to bring it up last time. But they have these. It's basically every stat can roll low, neutral, or high, and for every low roll you get a corresponding something else will be a high roll, right?
Yes.
So if you get a low value on your hit points, you'll have, say, a high value on your defense or resistance or something else.
I think they're directly tied. So if you get low health, you get high attack. If you go low defense, high resistance, something like that.
I don't think it is necessarily directly tied, but
okay.
There's only like 6 statistics, and if you get a low one, you automatically get a high one of something else. So it will balance out, right? Like you'll lose one here but gain one somewhere else.
Yeah, I wonder if it does balance out. I haven't seen any studies out there saying like, it's actually better to have more health, or it's actually better to have more attack, or whatever.
Well, let's go ahead and take it to the tier list where people have already figured out what they determine to be the best. And there are people out there who say that low rolls on certain things and high rolls on certain things are the best version of the best version of things. All the stats are like calculated out there. So like, what a level 40 should have if all the stats or rolls are 0 or whatever. and you can check all that out if you want to dive real deep on it. But it's 90% irrelevant, except for when you want to be the team of 40s with your pluses on every person and everything. Because, you can also merge copies of that same person into them to get a bonus stats, right?
If they're the same level. So you'd need level 5s to merge into level 5s.
Yes, that's correct.
Oof.
So, yeah. And people are out there reporting seeing teams of level 40 plus 10s, which is the max, against, all level 40 plus 10s. So, there's a lot of people spending a lot of money, apparently. Or hacking, I suppose.
The other thing I noticed is that I've never seen a 40 plus because I think the arena matches your team level to the other team level.
So my understanding is the matching in the arena is done on total stats. So the total value of your stats match with a total value of someone else's stats.
Huh. Interesting.
And level obviously factors into that because, your stats go up as you level.
So correct me if I'm wrong then. Take one level 40 of whatever you have and 3 level 1s and then roll the arena.
Yeah, you would be faced against a lot of lower level people. But in the same way, you would still have to be careful because when one person dies in the arena, right, you lose a ton of points. So you still have to somehow be able to use that one level 40 to defend all of your level 1s and not have any of them die.
Sure.
It's not a bad idea. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I have not tried it.
I think I might experiment with it since I've already finished my arena run for this month.
Yeah, it's like I have 2 extra swords sitting around from the end of this run this week, and I'm not going to bother with them because it's not going to be better than what I have. So.
Right. It might be worth a shot with those 2 extras.
Yeah, something to mess around with anyway.
Yeah. That's kind of it, man. I have not really sat in my office and started sitting down and play games again. It's kind of a mess in here. We, like I said, unpacked a bunch of boxes, so there's paper everywhere. But we had a discussion the other day about things that we're going to spend our time playing pretty soon.
Yeah.
You vehemently supported a new game that just came out.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that actually, Andrew, you supported this game too in the past.
I did, yeah. And I support the idea of this game. Sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the game we're talking about is Torment, Tides of Numenera, which is a spiritual successor to a previous game on the computer, which is Planescape Torment. I guess we'll back it up here and talk a little bit about Planescape Torment in terms of what is this game and why should anyone listening care. Planescape Torment is a game that came out in like the late 90s, I would say, based on the D&D setting of Planescape, which I don't know how much you know about, Andrew. Are you a Planescape buff?
I am not a Planescape buff at all.
Okay. Do you know anything about it whatsoever?
0. Hit me with all your knowledge, because I found out a little bit about it because I also kickstarted the Numenera regular game.
Yeah, which, by the way, has happened 4 years ago. That's pretty crazy to think about.
I know. It blows my mind.
So we'll start with Planescape Torment, the original game, and Planescape, the D&D setting, which was a pen and paper version of this. It's a world where there's multiple planes of reality coexisting with each other all the time. And at the heart of all these planes is a city called Sigil, which is just kind of like a crossroads in between planes. And it's built to be this really weird kind of like otherworldly nexus where there's just people from all kinds of walks of life, and all kinds of weird dimensions and aliens and people with psionic powers and mages and wizards and warriors and demons and all kinds of stuff from basically like open your D&D monsters manual and say, where can I make it so that every single one of these could be in the same place? Like all the monsters have to be able to be somewhere. And instead of putting them off in their own little corners of the world, what if they all just showed up right here in this one setting? And that's how Planescape works. They have the elemental planes for the elements and the material plane for your humans and your demonic planes down in the bottom for bad demons. And Each of them has tons of lore and stuff. It's like you could write your 300-page, DM's guide. You can just imagine all the like crazy pictures and stuff that goes into this setting, right?
Tons of this setting. Books without end they've had.
Right. And so it is in this setting they chose to make this game and they called it Torment. Now, I don't know what their reason for choosing it was, but the designers said when they wrote this game that they were kind of bored with the way RPG games sort of would have a quote right choice, a correct choice, and that the correct choice generally followed along the kind of morally good pathway, right? Not that you couldn't be evil, but like it would sometimes be less optimal for you to be evil, or you'd be losing out on items or experience by doing that.
Right.
And so they set out to design a game that didn't have that restriction. You could act any way you wanted. You could be any kind of character you wanted without having, to compromise the role-playing aspect of it.
This is kind of previous to the Fable games that later did that, and the Knights of the Old Republic games that did that.
Right. And so this game came out, it was a PC game from back in the like late 90s, I think we said. And so they took as their central kind of theme to the game was what can change the nature of a man. That sounds all deep and philosophical, and that's because it is. This game has a lot of text. I believe the Wikipedia article I read says the game has about 800,000 words in it. That's a lot.
Yeah. No kidding.
So the game is not that long of a game, and it's like maybe 20 hours, 30 hours if you're like doing a lot of side stuff.
So you're doing a lot of reading.
So there's a lot of reading. And, you can get... The thing about this game is that it is based on the 2nd edition D&D rule set. So the combat pretty loosely follows that stuff. It also is run in one of the Infinity engines, kind of like the Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 series games. Mm-hmm. But again, pretty heavily modified to deal with a lot of the weirdness that happens in this game. And this character... Right, like the whole, the character is the nameless one. You don't know, you wake up in a mortuary, you don't know who you are, you don't know how you got there. You have this like wrinkled, kind of gnarled visage with tattoos all over your body. And you just eventually have to puzzle together who you are, what's going on, and like what this is all about. And you come to find out that it turns out that you're immortal, and every time you die, you wake back up in the mortuary, and you forget whatever had happened before, and these people seem to have known you, like you've been alive for a really, really long time, but you have no recollection of any of them, and the game has just a lot of really interesting philosophical takes on, like, are you responsible for something that you can't remember if it happened in a past life?
Some deep stuff, my friend.
And it is really, really well written. And so I would encourage people to go get that game off GOG if you have the inclination. There's a widescreen mod for it to allow you to run it in HD resolutions, which is really hard to run the game if you don't do that. And it is the writing in it still holds up. The mechanics maybe are pretty dated, and I think it's definitely worth saying the combat is the worst part of that game. But luckily, you can talk your way out of a lot of the combat. Your character is very wise, it turns out, after having lived for all these lifetimes, even if you don't remember it. And you can generally resolve things in, while not necessarily a peaceful way, at least a talkative way. And there are some pretty messed up things you can do through just text.
Oh, man.
The game goes some places. It is not a game for children, definitely.
Nice.
And so this game was much beloved, although it did not necessarily do so great in its time. Come in, I think, when like 2013, I would guess. Mm-hmm. A company decided they wanted to make a successor. The Planescape license was not really around in a state that they could get at it.
Right.
So Monty Cook, who it turns out was one of the original authors of the Planescape setting.
And multiple D&D editions as well, I think.
Correct, yes. Offered up his new own setting, the the Numenera role-playing setting.
The name of his game is Numenera. New Men Era.
Yeah, Numenera.
Right. Which is a game kind of about...
It is a role-playing system, right?
Yeah, it's a role-play system, but the setting of the game is a world in which men and all sorts of variations of men, elves, etc., I think, are kind of living in this post-men era where they live amongst these technologies, gigantic hulks of ships and cities and all these things with technologies they don't understand because they're from a past era.
So the game, the setting takes place in the 9th world, I believe is the term they use for it.
Correct.
And it is called that because 8 civilizations world-spanning global civilizations have risen and fallen in between those times. And it does take place on Earth, and they say it is 1 billion years in the future, such that the land masses and geography and everything are completely alien to anything you or I would ever have known.
That's pretty ambitious, thinking that we'll make it that long.
Hey, man, you never know. And there is a lot of weird stuff in this game and this setting, and that is what makes it so interesting. It's not sci-fi.
It's also not fantasy.
Yeah, there are spaceships, and there are, mystical energy containers. There are thrusters being used as forges. There's aliens or beings from other worlds, other dimensions, and all kinds of it's just, you can really do anything because so much time has passed. Who's to say that there wasn't a transdimensional warp gate here from some past civilization, and that's how these people got there?
Correct.
And so it really gives you freedom to do anything in this sort of weird sci-fi but still medieval kind of setting. And so that's the world that the new game, the sort of spiritual successor, once again is called Torment, Tides of Numenera, takes place in.
It's a pretty cool setting.
Ooh.
I bought one of the RPG books, the main book, back when he was kickstarting his version of that game, and you could definitely go a lot of ways with it. It was very, very, very open-ended, especially the combat and everything else was kind of left up to storytelling more than mechanics.
Yeah, and so from playing this game, I can say that this is one of the most tabletop roleplay feeling games I have ever played. It really feels like anytime you're in a conversation and they want you to use a check, right? They're like, oh, okay, here's your, it's like, oh, if you make a perception check, you can see this and then say this line, right? Sort of the kind of standard way that you have those interfaces on PCs and consoles, right? It's like, oh, hit A, or, select number 3 on this list, and then use your perception to see if you can, see something that he's trying to steal from you or whatever.
Right.
And then it goes, okay, well, perception is a intelligence-based skill. You only have 3 statistics. You have might, you have speed, and you have intelligence. And perception is an intelligence-based skill. How many points of intelligence do you want to spend towards seeing this perceptive check? Right? And it's this really interesting thing where you're literally spending the points out of your pool in order to pass these checks.
It reminded me a long time ago that Marvel had done an RPG very similar to this, where you had your hero abilities, and each hero ability gave you certain amounts of tokens, and you could kind of use up those tokens, and when you ran out, you couldn't really do much more of things with your abilities like that, oh, you have 5 tokens of telekinesis. Well, if you want to lift that entire building, you got to use all 5.
It's exactly like that. And you don't restore any of your tokens or any of your pool until you rest for the night. But while you rest for the night, sometimes things happen. I will give an example that is hopefully not too spoilery here. But there was a quest that I was involved in where I was being asked to find a murderer. And when I rested for the night, trying to figure out who this murderer was, I woke up and there was another murder that had happened while I was resting.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. Now, if I had solved that murder, perhaps, before I had rested, there might not have been that other person killed. And I don't know what ramifications that's going to have down the line. And now that sounds kind of like a weird thing to say, but one of the other things that is sort of a hallmark of this series from the first game and from this sequel is how much your choices influence things down the line, maybe even in ways that you don't expect. There are the sort of like the ramifications of stuff that you can't see, right, is a central theme to these games. Like, you really need to like think about your choices when you're doing stuff, because hey, you don't know, but maybe that person that died, turns out they could have come back to help you later in the game, and now they won't. So it's a really, like, the system, the choices really do have meaning. And the first game had a ton of different endings, like in terms of what the final state of where your characters and stuff would be. And I'm not finished with this one yet. I'm only like 20 hours in or so. And I am very excited to see where this goes.
Now, it doesn't strike me from what I've read about the game that it's super open worldy. It's not like you kind of wander around the wilderness finding quests.
Yeah, it's super not like that at all. It's a lot more in the theme of like some of these old computer role-playing games like Baldur's Gate, where you kind of go from place to place, sort of solve all the quests in that city, and then move on. And so far, at least, there has not been a lot of opportunities for you to go back to places that you have left. Like, in fact, you would leave and it straight up says, hey, you're not coming back here. I hope you have finished everything before you go.
And is it all tied together? Are you running between cities to solve an overarching theme, or is it just move to city, move to city, move to city?
Yeah, so there is a reason for your movement. So I told you before, the first game had at its core the kind of idea of what can change the nature of a man. The theme for this one is supposed to be something, what does one life matter? And, you play the role of, instead of the nameless one, you're this guy called the Last Castoff, and you are the most recent body of a person, a god called the Changing God, who continually inhabits and builds these bodies and then leaves them behind. And so you are the most recent cast-off from this god. And you are sort of born into this life of what does it mean to have used to have been this guy? What happens when the fact that it turns out most of these cast-offs are, if not immortal, pretty close to it, and there are potentially hundreds of them running around this world doing who knows what.
Oh, man. So there's possibly more than one of you.
Oh, yeah. They don't all look the same because the Changing God has enjoyed change over the years. There are women and men and all shapes and sizes and races. And it is a real mess picking up after all these semi-immortals. And, a lot of people don't particularly like this guy for reasons that might seem a little obvious. And a lot of other people have come to sort of worship him as some kind of deity figure who clearly is guiding his children in ways that we can't see. The game has a lot to say about all sorts of different things in like a lot of ways that maybe you wouldn't expect.
In open-ended ways where you can interpret them yourself, or are they kind of being a little preachy?
In some cases, there's some preaching, but like it is... in most of the cases, the results are what you choose for them to be, and the game doesn't judge you for that. It's like, hey, do you want to take a path where you just accuse, like, you are the only witness to this crime? Do you want to turn this person in or not? No? Okay. It doesn't have anything to tell you about the fact that you didn't choose to turn that person in or not. It's something happened. If you want to draw meaning from that, that's your business, right? Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, these quests can play out in different ways depending on sort of which person or which path you take through them.
Do you remember the old Torment game enough to say whether if this fits the bill, better, worse?
So I can definitely say a few things about it. I haven't played the old Torment game in a while, but I would think if you asked me on most days, I would say that it's my favorite game of all time.
Whoa. I did not glean that from our previous conversation.
Yeah, I really think that, and I'm probably sticking to this, that I think that is still the best written game of all time. And it is I really cannot emphasize enough how good the writing is in that game. Now, there appears to be more total writing in this game than that previous one, but more isn't always better, Andrew.
Is it longer? You said this is 20 hours already, and you're nowhere near the end.
I'm 20 hours in. I have no idea how close to the end I am, but it is definitely like the things that were really awesome about the previous game was the companions each had their own really deep personalities. I don't think the companions are that deep in this one. The previous game, I mentioned how the combat was kind of not that great. Well, they carried that tradition forward too, and the combat is not really that great in this one either. It is turn-based, which is kind of nice in some ways.
Okay.
But some of their sort of combat analog, I guess, or the thing that they use for combat in this game is called a crisis. And they call it that because I think combat is the wrong word. You can talk your way out of the combats. You can play the entire game without actually fighting anything. You don't have to swing any swords or cast any spells. You can, in a lot of cases, like run around during these crises and talk to people or use the environment to, escape and things like that.
Huh.
So in that respect, it is kind of cool, but in some of them, it is kind of a drag also. So
do you get dragged into them maybe too much, and it kind of like slows things down a lot, or what makes it seems kind of innovative to say like, okay, you're in this fight zone, but you're not fighting. You're in a real turn-based thing because we want to give you multiple options other than fighting.
Right. So they won't tell you generally when you're going to enter a crisis, right? Like, it could happen because you chose a conversation option that said, hey, let's fight. Or like you could be talking to a guy and you say something that he doesn't like and he decides to pull swords on you, right? Or you could just be walking down a street and it turned out you turned down the wrong section of town, bub, and now you're going to get jacked. It's that kind of a thing. But in a lot of cases, maybe you could talk your way out of that or hide or use one of these mystical Numenera artifacts to defeat your enemies or whatever. But the issue is really that some of these crises, is that the correct plural there? I guess
crises,
that the game forces you into as a part of the story can just be tedious. And because it's turn-based and the game is not like really snappy about like switching between turns and characters, you just feel this like drag. It's like, okay, all my characters are hiding because I don't want to fight, and they're all like hidden around the side of the thing, and now I have to wait for 10 turns for all the enemies on the screen to like run around and do whatever it is they're doing while they're not trying to find me because I'm hidden. And it's just like, come on, can I just like walk? I just need to walk over there to press the button to electrocute all of them. I just gotta walk over there, but it's gonna take me 3 turns to get there, and meanwhile it's 10 turns of them doing nothing. And yeah, so it's stuff like that. It's just like stuff that could be better, but just quite isn't there.
They needed better AI processing and a couple other things.
Or like not even AI processing. It's just the game overall. Like the system does not necessarily work great for what it is.
Yeah, I mean they emulated pen and paper kind of.
Yes, and so it definitely, like I said before, it definitely feels like a pen and paper game. Whereas like every attack you can expend extra of your stat. Or like if you're swinging with your sword, you can spend extra might to deal more damage and have a better chance to hit, right? But then that might is gone, and next time you're not going to be able to use it, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of. I give them props for innovating, and it is really a different system. But it's like 80% of the game I want it to be, but 80% of a Torment game is still, at least to me, a lot better than most of the other things out there these days.
Well, with nobody left making these sorts of things, really. I mean, you might argue Diablo, but I wouldn't say that that's an RPG in this vein anymore. Like, that's kind of it, right? Who's left?
Yeah, there are not many people out there making these. The term out there is sort of CRPG, which used to stand for computer RPG, but everything's a computer, so I don't know. Anyway, as opposed to like, you've heard of people talk about like JRPGs, right?
Right.
Like the Japanese style of
Sure.
RPG. Well, then the response to that was the WRPG, like the Western style RPG. Well, then this was neither of those, so this one was the CRPG. I don't really know how these names got made up, but anyway, that's the style of game that this is. And yeah, they haven't been popular for a long time. Like Pillars of Eternity and this and Divinity Original Sin, there are kind of not many of these games out there.
Yeah, you get one a year maybe.
And like only recently has that trend started again.
Sure.
Like in the last 2 or 3 years.
All three of those that you mentioned are Kickstarter games.
Correct, yeah. And Divinity 2 is coming out sooner than later. And these games there's a group of people like me that want to play them. But there are certainly, they were gone for 10 years at least. Just no one made them because no one thought they were profitable.
Well, Save the Whales worked, so save the CRPG.
Exactly. So, I'm really excited that I get to play stuff like this. I'm not saying necessarily that, you should play this, over Zelda or whatever. But, if you are into this and you really like reading, you should play these games.
Right on, man. Right on.
The reading part is a requirement, absolutely, though. You got to.
Sure. I think that's a good episode of We Were Gamers back for our normal recording night, and we'll be back next week with hopefully a lot more games played.
Hey, who can say?
Or at least hours played. Maybe not more games.
Yeah.
You're going to give us another update on Torment next week, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just real quick, I want to throw out there, hey, if you want to get at us on social media, you could do that. It's like facebook.com/WeWereGamers. It's Instagram WeWereGamers, twitter.com/WeWereGamers. If you want to send us an email about how right I am about how great Torment is, you can send it to podcast@WeWereGamers.com.
This might be the only time that you're going to get an email that's nice.
Nice.